Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. So today we are going to discuss the next question of our agriculture optional answer writing practice series. And the question for today is define genetic purity and how can the maintenance of genetic purity of varieties can be done outside their normal cultivation area. So this question was asked in this year's agriculture optional paper of UPSC Civil Services examination, that is in 2025. So let's see how we can approach the answer. So the question can be divided into two parts, and in the first part we have to simply define what genetic purity is, and second part we have to discuss the methods through which genetic purity can be maintained outside the normal cultivation area of a variety. So let's see how we can approach the answer. So simply in introduction, there is no need to give another anything different in introduction. You can simply introduce by defining genetic purity. So let's see how we can define genetic purity. So genetic purity refers to the degree of genetic uniformity. It refers to degree of genetic uniformity, degree of genetic uniformity and true to type nature of a plant and true to type nature of a nature of a plant nature of a plant variety nature of a plant variety as it was originally bred or released as it was originally bred or released. So this is how we can define genetic purity. So it is refers to the degree of genetic uniformity and true to type nature of a plant variety as it was originally bred or released. So I'm taking the next page. So I am making you understand. Suppose there is a plant variety. There is a plant variety A, and while we are releasing the variety, the genetic purity is 100%. So this genetic purity should be maintained to 100% in coming times also. So you can see the definition. It is the degree of genetic uniformity and true to type nature of a plant variety as it was originally bred or released. So suppose after some time this 100% genetic purity is decreased to 80%. So you can make a assumption there that the genetic purity has decreased. The genetic purity has decreased by 20%. The plant is not as genetically pure as it was before. So this is what genetic purity is. You can also mention here that genetic purity ensures that crop variety retains its distinct morphological, physiological and genetic characters over generations. So genetic purity also ensures that the distinct morphology of plant variety, distinct physiology of plant variety, the genetic characters of plant variety is maintained over generations. Suppose it is 100% now, after 5-6 generations also it is 100%. It doesn't decrease to 80% or 70% anything. So this is what genetic purity is. This is how you can define genetic purity, and you can also add these things in your explanation in the answer only. So I hope you understand the first part of the question. Now let's move to the second part of the question, that is maintenance of genetic purity of varieties outside their normal cultivation area. So how we can maintain it. So give the heading maintenance of genetic purity outside normal cultivation area. So how we can maintain it. So there are various ways, we will discuss them, which we need to follow. First of all, we have to follow the isolation distance. Isolation distance needs to be followed so that cross pollination doesn't take place. If cross pollination will take place, the new genes in the varieties will be integrated and its purity will be decreased, its purity will decrease. So we have to maintain isolation distance so that this cross pollination, any kind of unwanted cross pollination, doesn't take place. Secondly, we can do controlled pollination. Controlled pollination, okay, through controlled pollination we can ensure that foreign pollen are not introduced into the plant, and only those characters which we want to maintain and which we want our genes to be pure are pollinated through controlled pollination. So this can be done. Greenhouse cultivation can be done if it is outside natural area. Greenhouse cultivation, because in greenhouse cultivation we can maintain the kind of conditions needed by the crop. Some many times it's not always the pollination, other things that reduce genetic purity, many times mechanical mixtures, okay, many times environmental epigenetic changes, environmental changes also reduce genetic purity. So in greenhouse cultivation these epigenetic changes can be maintained. Okay, these epigenetic changes, it in greenhouse conditions we can make sure that these epigenetic changes doesn't take place. Okay, it also provides a kind of physical protection, physical barrier of protection, physical protection. So greenhouse cultivation can be done. Next, we can do off season multiplication. Off season multiplication. Why off season multiplication? Because many times what happens, other crops in on season, there are a lot of other crops in the field also, so it can be prevented. Secondly, it can avoid synchronization. If you synchronize many crops at the similar times, there are chances of cross pollination, so it should be done. Next, we can do rugging. Rugging can be done, that is removal of off types. So any kind of unwanted plants can reduce the genetic purity of our main plant. Okay, so rugging is to remove those plants. Okay, remove any kind of disease plants, any kind of weeds, all these things can be removed where rugging needs to be done. We can also do gene bank storage. Gene banks can be maintained where true to type plants with good genetic purity is maintained. That can be done. Various tests can be done regularly to see that plants is not losing its genetic purity. For example, grow out test. So grow out test is done to check genetic purity, so these tests can be done regularly. We can do field inspections regularly to so see that the conditions of the field is as per our requirement, which will not hamper our genetic purity. We have to practice certain agronomic practices which we do should be up to the mark. We can follow integrated nutrient management, weed management, proper irrigation management. All these things needs to be done so that plant doesn't have to fall down due to any kind of stress. Plant doesn't have to bear the attack of any kind of stress, and it remains genetically pure as it is. As it was today, it will be remaining genetic pure after some generations also. So this is how, these are the kind of 9 methods which you can write. That would be enough for answer. So this is how we can maintain genetic purity outside normal cultivation area. So this was all for today's answer. In conclusion, you can mention that yes, genetic purity needs to be effectively maintained outside normal cultivation areas, because if the crop loses genetic purity, it will not loses its genes, but it will also lose the yield. It will also lose the characters for which the crop is grown. For example, we are growing certain kind of paddy variety for high yield, and if genetic purity is lost, this high yield can be also be lost. So this is how you can conclude your answer. So I hope you understand all parts of the question and you will be able to write a good answer on this question. So that is all for today. If you like it, please press the like button. Please do share and please do subscribe. It takes a lot of hard work to make such videos for you on regular basis. And if you like, if you share, if you subscribe, it motivates us to make more such videos for you regularly. So that is all for today. Have a nice day. Thank you.